All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again with another fantasy football rankings episode. Today, we're going to be doing the running backs 10 or 11 through 20. All right. Our previous list of 1 through 10, we have posted on the IG, or you can check the video out on YouTube or Facebook for our 1 through 10. But kicking it off right now, we're going to go with number 11. And I'm going to start it off with my number 11 running back for this 2020 upcoming season. And keep in mind, these are early rankings. As things change, players can get hurt. There could be COVID that pops up, so that will adjust rankings. But as of now, the way things stand, I have Austin Eckler as my number 11 running back going into the 2020 season because he is a fantastic pass catcher. As I've been highlighting, the new meta in football, it's pass catching running backs. They score a lot of points, and I think that that Eckler's in a situation where he's going to be able to catch possibly 90 balls this year, and I like his upside. What do you feel about number 11, Hammer?
You and I are in the same boat in regards to having Eckler number 11 last year. At the end of the season, anyways, he was ranked fourth amongst running backs in fantasy points. 11 total touchdowns, which was eighth. 557 rushing yards, 33rd. 23.5 juke rate, which is ranked 24th. Breakaway percentage 5.3, which was ranked 8th. 2 drops, ranked 15th. He rushed for 1,371. I'm sorry, that's wrong. 557 yards off 132 attempts last year. 3 touchdowns, 92 receptions, 108 targets, 993 yards. 8 touchdowns, and like you said before, it's best to have one of those all-around running backs. And with him and receiving wise, he was definitely doing a lot last year.
And just to finish off on Austin Eckler, last year in regular standard scoring, he was the number 5 running back with total points scored. So definitely a good one to go with at this point in the draft. But who do you have at number 12, Hammer?
Number 12, I have a rookie, which a lot of people are a little surprised by that right now, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Kid out of LSU, was drafted 32nd overall by the Chiefs. His numbers last year at LSU and throughout his career at LSU, or more last year, he was ranked top 10, mostly top 5 in every single category that he was remotely a part of last season. I think the reason they did go with if you're going to, let me cut that. Having him at number 12 right now in regards to a kid being a running back being drafted in the first round, it's almost a given that he is going to be used as a starter. Last year at LSU, he ranked 2nd in rushing attempts. He ranked 2nd in rushing yards, and this is all SEC. He rushed 4th in rush yards per attempt, which was 6.6. I know they say the NFL is a lot faster, but if somebody like this can explode for that many yards on average a carry, he's going to be a dangerous weapon, and not only a dangerous weapon in the league, but another dangerous weapon for the $500 million man to have.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes is a gunslinger, and the more weapons you give him, the better he's gonna do. So I definitely love him as a player to go alongside Mahomes as another weapon. I have someone slightly different at number 12, and I'm gonna touch on the reasons why I don't have I'm gonna call him CEH. Why I don't have CEH ranked number that high. I'll touch on it a little bit later with my rank on him. But my number 12 ranked is a guy that Hammer had ranked number 7 in the last rankings. That's the running back out of Oakland, Josh Jacobs. Like I touched on before.
Hold up. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
we're in Vegas now, bro. We're in Vegas.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it's yet to been a game played, so come on, you got to give me a little break here. We're still getting used to that. But Las Vegas running back Jacobs, I love his upside. I think he's in a pretty good situation. He should be the lead workhorse. They love to use him at least two downs. He's at least there. Almost 2 out of 3 downs every time. He does lose a little bit on the passing upside, but I think at this point in the draft, his overall body of work And I think just his upside and his talent really led me to picking him at 12. At number 13, I have a guy that I kind of wanted to rank a little higher, but because he's getting older and he has some injury issues, I have him ranked at 13, and that's Todd Gurley. And I like Todd Gurley this season because when we saw him start playing last year, when he was, the second half, when the Rams were trying to make that playoff push and they were trying to use him more and take some of those ropes off, Gurley put up numbers. And last year, Gurley was, a productive running back. He ended, I believe, in like the top 10 running backs last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So he ended as the number 14th running back total last year. But for the most of the first half, he really didn't get the ball like that. And I like that he's going into a situation in Atlanta where there's really not that much competition for him. It's a good offensive line in front of him. He has good weapons on the outside. I think Gurley can eat this year. I think he's going to feast. But Hammer, who do you have at 13?
13, I'm running with now you got me looking through my stuff again. Aaron Jones from the Green Bay Packers. And I guess from like you and I talking about what we had going into this, you're a little surprised with some of the guys I had. But there's somewhat of a method to the madness. He was finally given the opportunity last year to showcase what he could do with an extended workload. And he shared 62.6% of the snaps with his backup there. He busted out with 1,558 scrimmage yards and an NFL high 19 total scores. He was particularly effective in the red zone, where he led the league with 14 touchdowns on 33 attempts. It's kind of hard not to have this dude within the early tier of 11 through 20. He's healthy. He's coming back under a second year under Matt LaFleur as a head coach. Rodgers is back. Devontae Adams is back healthy. His numbers last year, he averaged 19 fantasy points. His total was 314. He will hit the ground running this year and do some serious damage, especially if he's going to be the lead carrier for the Packers going into this coming season, as long as he stays healthy.
I definitely agree with what you're saying here. And Aaron Jones last year was a player that I traded for in my big money league. And he was phenomenal. The first game I had him was the game versus the Cowboys, where he had 4 touchdowns. And ever since that point in the season last year, he was a monster. In his week 16 versus he played week 16 versus the Cowboys. I forgot. I think it was Detroit then that he played week 14, whatever. But in week 16, he blew up. He had a huge game, which helped me win the championship. So I'm very partial and biased toward Jones. I think he's a fantastic player. I would have him ranked higher if it wasn't for the fact they drafted the rookie AJ Dillon, which does scare me a little bit, because I know that last year when I watched Matt LaFleur divvy up the time and the touches, there was a lot of times that they pulled Aaron Jones off the field because he missed a blocking assignment or he dropped a pass. And like you could see Aaron Rodgers grilling him after the play and just kind of like, I don't know. It's scary to me because I know that AJ Dillon has a lot of upside and he could possibly take away at the goal line. And that to me is where I kind of, that information makes me a little bit scared. But at the same point in time, he's my number 14th ranked running back. So I have him right there. But that's the only reason why I probably don't have him, in the top 7 or 8, because he is that good. Last year, he did put up those numbers. And he's someone that is in a good position to repeat, especially having, Aaron Rodgers controlling, the offense. So, like I said, I have him as my number 14 running back. You have him as your 13 running back. So who do you right now have as your number 14 running back?
My bad. Number 14 is a back that you actually had way earlier. And for some strange reason, I'm still like, oh, what are you thinking, bro? But
we're gonna have a whole episode on that.
Oh, we will. But right now I have Miles Sanders in that spot, and I kind of understand, like, in regards to why a little bit. I still don't understand why you have him higher than Josh Jacobs, but Sanders last year finished fantasy points wise as a running back ranked 15th. He didn't do too bad for the load that he carried. 179 carries, 818 yards, 3 touchdowns, 50 receptions, 509 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 fumbles, 1 lost, averaged 10.5 fantasy points, 168.7 on the year. Mm-hmm. He's definitely ready to carry the workload now. You put him at, I believe it was 6. Continue, his stock is going to rise going into this season, and considerably so. Doug Peterson acknowledged that his talent. He acknowledged his talent. He's a number one. He's ready to carry the load. It's just a matter of letting time run its course and see what happens. He can be a special back. It's just a matter of that line, and also who he has at quarterback as well. Is Wentz going to stay healthy, or is he going to go down after week 2? Like,
they got Hurts, or they got the kid that used to be at Alabama. He's good enough for me.
Okay, fair enough.
It's fair good enough for me.
Fair enough.
Like, and I'll say this just because we love to touch on Josh Jacobs versus Miles Sanders. Last year, Josh Jacobs did outscore Miles Sanders, for the record. Just for the record. So, it's going to be 2 years in a row with that.
Oh, you just get that bottle ready. Just get it ready, bro.
Yep, please. So at number 15 for me, I have the running back out of Jacksonville, Leonard Fournette. He's been a model of a consistent running back who consistently puts in the numbers. We know he gets the goal line touches. We know they like to feature him. We know he's going to get the work when you have Uncle Rico as still, his quarterback down there. So, I mean, it's not a situation where you have a gunslinger or someone that you really feel like is going to dictate the offense. I feel like it's still going to be a very run-heavy offense. If you look at where he finished last year, he finished in the top 15 running backs last year for sure in points. And I really just can't see that changing. He is a guy that, when all said and done, he might not be the sexiest pick, but he's definitely a safe pick. But who do you have at number 15?
Well, you know what? I'll touch on with Fournette, because I actually have Fournette at 19. Mm-hmm. But fantasy last year, he finished ranked 7th amongst the running backs in the league. He comes off his best season of his career with 1,152 rushing yards, 76 receptions, but was rumored to be on the trade block and drew 0 interest from other teams. Jacksonville has declined his 5th-year option, which means that the former number 4 overall pick will be a free agent following this season. Quite simply, Fournette has not lived up to the hype at all. He got an unimpressive 3.8 yards per carry average for his career, which is just abysmal. If you're a legit back, you're averaging
4 at least.
Just under 5. No, like just under 5 at 5.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019, he ranked 43rd among all NFL running backs with 16.7 juke rate per fantasy, and his 27th ranked 27th ranked run blocking offensive line did not help him very much in regards to the touches that he got compared to his previous 3 seasons. So it's kind of hard to really go with him. It's another one that you have at, 15?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard for me to go with him that high right now, especially where he did put up some impressive numbers, but at the same time, he's another one with his fantasy point average is not the best. He's averaging like just a little over 14, and somewhat on a decline. Obviously, Jacksonville sees something. They tried to trade him, but nobody's interested. So maybe we're looking, unless he does something ridiculously crazy this year with his numbers, maybe this is going to be the last year he plays in the league, unless some teams draw interest or he re-signs with Jacksonville.
No, I'm going to say this. It makes sense for Jacksonville not to extend that offer to him, because let's face it, what the NFL has done with running backs is simply draft one on the rookie contract. You let the contract run out, and then you let someone else sign them. That seems like it's going to be the new wave. But with that said, Leonard Fournette still is, like you said, he's a consistent player. He finished in the top 15 running backs last year. He has a penchant of doing it. Last year, his biggest downside, I think, was that he only had 3 touchdowns total. I don't think that their offense is going to be that bad that he's only going to end up with 3 total touchdowns, which will elevate his stock back up. And he's playing for a contract, which gives me a little bit more of an inkling to saying, hey, you know what? He knows that he puts the tape in now. Some team is going to look at him and they're going to say, we need a bruiser. We need someone to come in there, and we don't need you to juke someone. I need you to drop your shoulder and go right through him and get those yards. We need that 1 yard. We need that 2 yards. And I know he can still do that. So regardless of anything, he'll probably be in a committee maybe next year. Or like, I would love to see if you have him and Eckler in the backfield. I feel like you could dominate. You have that dynamic pass catcher who's electric on the outside. You have a good rusher that can take up the inside, and you could run both running backs at the same time and really fool defenses. But that's like a whole nother discussion that we can get into. So after we went with Fournette at 15 for me, who did you have at your 15?
My 15, I had Chris Carson of the Seattle Seahawks. Another team that we can definitely spend some time eventually talking about them and everything that's going on with the last week in regards to the addition of Jamal Adams from the New York Jets.
What a great play for them.
I still, you know what? There were talks about it for quite some time that the only way that they were going to get rid of him was for a first and a third round pick. Mm-hmm. They got 2 first-round picks and a third pick, and apparently they had been talking to Seattle for quite some time about that. So it's actually pretty funny that it worked out the way it did. But I digress.
For the Jets,
I digress. Chris Carson, he was ranked 12th last year in fantasy. He averaged 13 points, 13 flat, totaled 195.6. 278 carries, 1,230 yards. I believe this was his second consecutive year as a 1,000-yard rusher. He finished the season low as a low-end running back, as a running back 1. It was his best season to date, though, with career highs across the board in rushing yards, receptions, and receiving yards. He thrived on massive volume with over 300 touches. He forced 85 missed tackles, which was the 6th best, created 526 yards, 4th best, and had 13 rushes over 15 yards, 3rd best. A problem with Carson is, will he be able to stay healthy in his 4th season? He's ended the last 3 on injured reserve, so it's something to take into consideration and somewhat of a buyer beware for fantasy players this coming season.
Mm-hmm. And part of these questions in regards to Carson is the reason why I do have Fournette ahead of him. Last year, Carson finished as the number 11 running back in scoring. Fournette finished as number 9, actually, when we did the numbers. But Chris Carson is a great running back. He had some fumbling issues throughout the year. He did have 4 fumbles, but he's a powerful back who I know Pete Carroll really likes and Russell Wilson really likes as well. The only problems for me is that they did start giving Penny a lot of shine in the second half of the season because he had so many fumbling issues. And then obviously he got hurt. And then this year what they went and did is they went and got Carlos Hyde. So that is an interesting backfield now because I don't know exactly what they plan on doing. I don't know what they're going to do with Hyde. I don't know how they plan on giving Carson his carries or what that's going to look like. So for me, I do have to take a little bit more of a wait and see approach in there. And that's why I do go with a guy like Fournette over him, is because I don't think there's as much timeshare chances. I'm pretty sure that Fournette's going to have the majority of the carries throughout the year. And that's why I am, ranking Fournette higher. And in this point in the draft, I actually have Le'Veon Bell ranked as my number 16 running back. Now, I have some fears about the way that the Jets used Le'Veon Bell last year. I don't think they really used him to his potential. I know that Adam Gase really didn't want him there, which I don't know if that played into the way he called plays, but it felt like it did because to me, they totally underutilized one of the best weapons in football over probably the last 5 years. But I do think that he has a good amount of carries that he's going to get in this situation since he's really not battling anyone for, touches. And that's why I do have Le'Veon Bell as my 16th pick. Who did you have as your 16th guy?
We're on the same page, and it's funny. We go from we were just talking about the Seahawks, and now we're talking about a New York Jet after that trade that just happened over the weekend. The Jets did add Frank Gore in free agency and drafted LaMichael Perrine in the 4th round of the draft to play behind Bell. Gore would potentially work in on early downs and Perrine on passing downs. They'll both likely eat into Bell's touches to an extent, but if Bell can increase his efficiency, it might not matter. But to touch on what you said before in regards to Gase, Gase has been a problem as a head coach. We can go back to Miami where he lost the locker room there, and guys like Kenyon Drake and other players on that team are gone now. Mm-hmm. Look at where Kenyon Drake is now, and look at how he was shining in Arizona this past season. Jamal Adams was doing his thing with the Jets for his first few seasons, and now he's gone. And he took a blast at management. He took a blast at Gase last week as well. And within less than 24 hours, all right, see you, pack your bags. Le'Veon Bell, feelings. Lev Bell and his feelings. Took to Twitter and took a couple of shots at Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams just simply replied, see you week 14.
Yeah.
We're going to see how this pans out. But in regards to Bell and his numbers, yeah, I'm not sold right now. He finished last year, which it's hard to swallow, that he finished 16th in fantasy points among running backs. He had 1 fumble, 1 loss, not bad. He averaged just under 10 points and 149 total for the season.
And only 4 touchdowns total.
Yeah, like he's one of the most important aspects of fantasy running back is they can have heavy usage in the passing game. He ranked top 7 receptions and targets for running backs in 2019, and given the lack of established pass catchers on the Jets, that role should continue this coming season, but we have to see if Gase is in fact going to utilize him the way that he was being used when he played in Pittsburgh.
Right. I mean, I think you really see the difference in Tomlin and Gase, because Tomlin was like, I have this weapon and I'm going to use him. And Gase is just like, I don't really like him, so let me see if I can do something else. And, I'm not really a big fan of that. So, all right, now that we've gone through our top 16, at number 17 for me, we're actually going to speak about the guy that replaced Le'Veon Bell. That's Chris Conner, or James Conner, excuse me. James Conner really bulked up this offseason. I've seen that he's been working out. He looks like he's in fantastic shape. But the biggest issue with him is that he's been injury prone. The last 2 seasons, he hasn't finished. He gets hurt often. But when he plays, he's a dynamic player who gives you running back 1 upside. Now, if I'm going at, this is a 17th overall running back that's being taken, obviously there's going to be some issues with them. Otherwise, they'd be ranked higher. But with him, his talent and skills are there. The problem is injury. So I would draft a guy like this and then try to get some guys later on just in case he does get hurt to either fill in like his direct backups or other running backs that I know that can step in and take the carries and take the role. But, despite injuries, he is my number 17 running back because he does have upside, and who do you have at 17, Ram?
17, I have Todd Gurley from same face, new place. Now he's playing for the Atlanta Falcons from the Rams. Talks of his demise were proven to be greatly exaggerated last season. Sort of. While Gurley still played in 15 games and found the end zone 14 times, he failed to hit the century mark of 6 100-yard games in 2018 and dipped to a pedestrian 3.8 yards a carry. Some of that blame lies with the subpar Rams offensive line, which we've talked about how overrated they are, but Gurley just wasn't as dynamic. He evaded 62 tackles, created 370 yards in 14 games. Last season, he dipped 49 evaded tackles and 278 created in only 15 games. It's hard to say what we're to expect from him this year, especially playing with a new quarterback, a new offensive line, a new head coach, and everything. But from what I understand, Matt Ryan has been working out with him even before they had to report to camp, and he's very happy with what he sees right now. Right now, it looks like he's gonna probably go back and forth with Devontae Freeman in regards to carrying the workload and going with a 2-headed monster, but we just have to wait and see how this plays out. We had this conversation over and over again with these guys that are in new places right now throughout this whole pandemic, and trying to get these guys to click on all cylinders right away, and it's just a matter of getting these guys more and more reps through practices, through games, just to see what happens this coming season with them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is Devontae Freeman still with the Falcons?
I'm almost positive he is.
I'm pretty sure that he's not, and that is why I do have Gurley ranked as number 13 running back overall. Is because if free agent Devontae running back is going to sign with the team, he is a free agent. So Freeman is a free agent this year, which is why I do have Gurley ranked up a little bit higher. Like you said, 14 touchdowns. He's going to a really good offense there in Atlanta with wide receivers like Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. And you have Matt Ryan out there. Matt Ryan's a veteran quarterback who doesn't run and doesn't want to get hit. Are you kidding me? He's going to be saying, run, please, run, please. Gurley's going to get work this year. And that's why I do like Gurley.
I keep telling you, like, the conversation we had in regards to the quarterbacks and receivers, and the one thing that most people may be intrigued to watch is gonna be the NFC South. Like, look at how much firepower the Falcons have now with that backfield, with their receivers, with Matt Ryan. You're going to see these matchups over and over again throughout the season, and it's going to be a dogfight in the NFC South. I'm telling you right now.
And the worst team, the Carolina Panthers, they have the best fantasy player in the game. They have Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly.
So it's like the worst team has some dynamic pieces that literally you have to put your whole game plan to stop McCaffrey because he does so much. So it's such an interesting division. You have the Bucks, you have the Saints, you have the Falcons, you got the Panthers. I just can't wait for football. I'm getting excited. All right, so that was 17. So who do you have at 18?
18, and then you and I had this conversation before we got on, and you were like, what? Who? Why? James White of the New England Patriots. He still figures to be heavily in the mix as the main pass catching back for the Patriots right now. Not having Tom Brady is not great for him, but the Patriots offensive system has always featured heavy usage of backs in the passing game, especially since White was drafted in 2015. The Patriots never ranked less than 5th in terms of total targets to the running back position since 2015. Don't expect his league-leading 20 red zone targets and 17 red zone receptions to carry into the season, though, with an unknown at quarterback. And I know it's kind of a dig at Cam, but it's hard to really know what this system is going to look like and what a running back of James White's caliber can present to fantasy owners this coming season. We have to see what the target distribution for him last year. He made up for 16 of the offense, while the other person that carried that workload was Julian Edelman. The target distribution is insane. Looking at his numbers from top to bottom, he only averaged 13.6 fantasy points per game, 200 for the season. Another one who's got a new quarterback to work with, and at the same time, there's guys left and right now with this whole thing, people opting out. And I know James White is an offensive player, but they just announced today that Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung from the defensive side opted out due to this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in New England. A lot is unknown, especially when you already lost some top defenders in free agency, and now you're losing some of your remaining top defenders before COVID starts. There's no Tom Brady, so that's definitely an interesting situation. And all that fluctuation is the reason why I don't have James White even ranked in my top 20. It's just a very difficult situation to predict and navigate. They still have Sony Michel. They still have Rex Burkhead. We know that, Belichick and I forgot the Jeff McDaniel, they love to, mix and match and play matchups and put all these little wrinkles in. And every week someone takes over the lead. So it's just a sticky situation to be in this year. And that's why I wouldn't take him this high, like at 18. Just for me personally, that just lowers him a little bit because I want to be a little bit safer this high up. And the guy that I have at 18 actually is a guy that Hammerhead ranked a little bit higher. He's a guy that I very much like. He carried me to a championship last year in my biggest money team. I was very bullish on him last year. I took him in the third round in most leagues. And that's Chris Carson out of Seattle. I love the kid's talent. I love his upside. It does worry me a little bit that they signed Hyde and they still have Penny. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know how short of a leash Carroll's going to have. And that scares me a little bit when I'm going this high up. But his upside is still, really, really, really tantalizing. And that's why I would still have him ranked within my top 20. But that's the only reason why I don't have him ranked higher. Otherwise, his talent dictates that he should be ranked higher and that he can produce better. But it's just a little bit of a sticky situation. And that's what reduces his value to me. Then, once now we have 18 at number 19. For me, I have a player that Hammer had ranked really early on. He broke down all the superlatives regarding CHE. Let's face it, this kid has tremendous upside. He's coming out of the SEC, so we know they've been known to produce top-end defenders. So he's gone against some good defensive players in college. But it's a sticky situation there with Damien Williams. I know that Damien Williams is not, the sexiest player, but he's put up numbers, and Andy Reid has trusted in him. And we've seen glimpses of that 2 years ago when he took the run in the final couple of weeks for Kansas City. We saw him last year as the primary main guy. And this year, I'm just not 100% sold on what's going to happen with CHE and Williams. Is it going to be more of a 50-50 timeshare? Is this kid able to come in and understand the pass blocking schemes enough to play on so many downs where they may feel more comfortable running Williams because they don't feel like they have to scale back any of their offensive plays? And those are the things that I'm thinking about when I look at this kid, because he has the potential that you could draft him higher, because if he's the number one running back of the number one offense, this kid could put up top 10 points. But with so many question marks there, it's hard for you to justify paying so much or going so high for him when do you have all these different questions. So for me personally, I have him here at 19, but he has the potential to go higher or lower depending on what happens in camp. I think that's going to be the number one thing that we're going to have to really watch, is to see what Kansas City is saying that they're going to do with their running backs, how these guys are performing in the preseason, because I could very easily see Williams blowing up and then we're sitting back and this kid, doesn't take over till halfway. So I think that's going to be the very interesting question, and that's the guy that I do have at my 19th pick. Who do you have at 19?
19, I have Fournette, and I had given the reasons when you had him previously in your ranking, but let's touch a little bit more on Helaire now that you're bringing him up again. Mm-hmm. It's possible he could be in a timeshare with Damien Williams to start the season, but it seems likely that it would just be a temporary thing. Consider that Williams has dealt with injuries at the end of the last 2 seasons. It just seems like once Edwards-Helaire gets his first shot at the full-time starting gig, there's going to be no going back to Williams. Out of all the rookie running backs, no player has a better chance as finishing as an RB1 than Edwards-Helaire this coming season.
Possibly.
We've seen over the past 2 seasons, Damien Williams, like, he's a fantasy star when he was seeing double-digit carries in addition to seeing targets in the passing game. But when Williams saw at least 12 carries, he was averaging over 20 points per game in our formats. But Helaire's usage,
is a good scorer.
Yeah, but Helaire's usage in the passing game will give him a fantasy floor to start the season.
You're right.
When he gets an expanded role, it's going to be wheels up for the rookie. And
You're right.
It's going to be a wrap after that.
You're right. And that's why I do have the rookie ranked ahead of him. But with there being so many questions, honestly, it's a little bit of a scary situation, just because when Williams is healthy, he is good. And you just said all his numbers. He puts up the numbers. So it's just an interesting situation where, again, we need more information to really, really kind of be affirmative or decide what we want to do. And that's the only reason why I haven't ranked this low, because, like Hammer's saying, this kid's potential is I mean, let's look at what Kareem Hunt did in his first year with the Chiefs. He was the top 5 running back.
Just imagine if he was still there right now, too.
Oh,
had he not had his little mess up?
Woo!
Just imagine if he was still there right now.
my God. I mean, Kareem Hunt that year, I want to chip with him. So I'm very partial to some of these guys that I've won with before. But Kareem Hunt in that offense, I mean, let's face it, the Chiefs have always put up good running backs, from Priest Holmes to Larry Johnson to Thomas Jones. They always find a way to have a viable running back. And with Andy Reid, I know that there's a lot of comparisons of this kid to like a young Brian Westbrook, especially with his pass catching capabilities, which is why I have him in this top 20, because when I'm this low, I want that upside, because like you said, if Williams does get hurt at the halfway point of the season and I'm going into the final stretch of the season with this guy potentially being a top 5 running back every week for the final 5 weeks of the season, that wins you a championship. So when you're drafting this late, you have to also factor in he may not have the job now, but he could have the job later. And that's something that's valuable. And that's something that you want. And that's something that I definitely think that you have to factor in when you're looking at these guys. And then to round out the top 20, I have a guy that probably a lot of people don't like, but I think he's in a good situation this year. And I do like to talk about timeshares and who he's competing with. And he's really not competing with anyone, it seems like. And that's my guy, David Johnson, former top pick, former elite running back, former guy that puts in work. I know that Bill O'Brien likes to run the ball. I know that Bill O'Brien just traded Hopkins for David Johnson. So that means he's going to give him every opportunity to get on the floor and do stuff. And
that's how he keeps his job.
Yeah. But also, we know that David Johnson is a great pass catcher. David Johnson can go and catch passes as a running back. And when I'm this late, or I'm looking at a number 19, number 20 running back, David Johnson is so safe because he can catch so many passes, that the additional running potential that he adds, and those touchdown upsides, and the fact that he's really not competing against a lot of other running backs, make me very interested to see what David Johnson could end the season as, because he could definitely outproduce a 20th pick just because of the opportunity that he has. That's the number one thing about fantasy football that people have to realize. It's not so much your talent, it's your opportunity share. If you get more opportunity than a guy that's more talented than you, just because you're on a team that doesn't have as many players at that position, you have a potential to end the season better. Does that make you a better player? No. But for fantasy football, yes. So, that's kind of my take on David Johnson. I know you had a little smirk on it. So I'll let you touch on David Johnson and give us your number 20 after that.
I feel like there's not much to touch on right now. It's been 3 full years since he's posted RB1 numbers, but that didn't stop O'Brien from acquiring for some strange reason and getting rid of one of the elite receivers in the league.
Yeah.
Johnson looked washed last year.
Yeah.
He looked washed.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I don't know why O'Brien seems so determined to acquire these pieces necessary to give Houston the best opportunity to win, when now you don't even have an elite receiver. Those other guys that they have right now are, I'm sorry, but they're not elite. And at best, they're average at best, honestly.
Cooks is better than average.
Well, now they have Cooks. I keep forgetting that they have Cooks now. But the guys that played under Hopkins, they're average.
Fuller's better than average. He's injury prone though. If Fuller could ever be healthy, he'd be not average.
That's his problem. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's his problem right now.
He can't stay healthy. You're banking on that. With the trade of Hopkins, you're banking that you're gonna get. I mean, because adding Cooks, I think, was a nice piece to help out to replace Hopkins. Because now you have Cooks and Johnson to replace Hopkins. So I can understand that a little bit more if Fuller is healthy and playing good.
But the same thing goes for Johnson. Johnson has to stay healthy too. Because ever since that wrist injury, everything has been downhill for him.
100%. 100%. I agree with you there. And let's wrap it out. Who's your number 20?
My number 20. Another one. Same face, new place. Melvin Gordon III of the now Denver Broncos. This offseason, Broncos signed him to be their lead running back, which is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around, because he was in the division when he played for the LA Chargers.
Yep.
And you have an excellent. This is another one, and he's a rival. He's a donkey. us Raider fans call them the donkeys.
Uh-huh.
You had Philip Lindsay as your primary running back, and he was another one that was a special talent. He was actually drafted like, I think, 3rd or 4th round, something like that. But he was like that kind of person that he didn't really get a chance coming out of college and everything. But he's really did damage from the time he came.
Yeah.
But looking at Gordon right now, last year he finished 21 ranked in fantasy points amongst running backs.
Mm-hmm.
He rushed for 162 attempts for 612 yards.
Mm-hmm. He did miss 4 games to start the year, 5 games to start.
Yeah, because he was holding out. He was pulling the little crybaby crap that a whole bunch of them are doing now. Which now with the new CBA, that ain't going to be happening anymore. These dudes are going to be losing like I think $150,000 a day.
Yeah,
like y'all want to sit out? Let me know how it works out for you when you pulling that MC Hammer broke shit.
Right.
Gordon has never been the most efficient running back, though. He played along with Eckler in the backfield. He's had other guys under him, and it always worked out. So maybe in regards to him being here and maybe splitting carries with Philip Lindsay, it may benefit the both of them. The target distribution last year, I'm trying to see Lindsay. Emmanuel Sanders isn't even there no more. Philip Lindsay only carried target-wise was made up 9% of their offense. You had Royce Freeman that made up 9.5, and it's just maybe seeing how they do this year in regards to trying to run with a two-headed monster out of Denver. Maybe things will be different, and maybe both of them will have a good upside. But I do have him as a 20 just because he's one of those running backs that always seems to need that supporting cast to help him continuously stay consistent with his numbers. So we just have to wait and see how that works out.
Yep, and I agree with you there. He needs a supporting cast so he can open up some lanes. But it is a little bit of an interesting situation since they already have Lindsay. So do we really even know what kind of timeshare they're going to have? But if you're bringing Gordon in, he's going to more than likely be a lead back. These questions, and again, this is something where hopefully training camp can start giving us some light. But that's the only reason why I don't have him ranked in my top 20. But you know, the Broncos did go out and they did make some noise. They got Judy in the draft. You have Corey Sutton as a good receiver that they had last year. And I think that Drew Lock as a quarterback prospect is a lot better than probably people give him credit for. I think the kid showed a little bit of upside. I think he showed a little bit of moxie. And I think that, you know, he's going to be someone that you know, could lead to, you know, Melvin Gordon outperforming that positioning that he's in right now, just because he'll get those opportunities. Like you said, there'll be the other guys around him that'll, you know, open it up because Locke will be able to get them the ball. I think between Judy and Sutton, those two wide receivers alone, and they have Noah Fant at tight end. So you have 3 really good playmakers on that offense who should open up some lanes for him. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I mean that's our next 10. So we're going 11 through 20 right here. We concluded with the ranks. We have them dropped right here below, scrolling through us. My ranks are first, Hammers are second, not because of anything, just because of the way you filled it out. But yeah, I mean, Hammer, is there anything that you want to touch on that you think we missed in these top 20, or any last point that you want to put in there before we sign off?
I think we covered just about everything we needed to. I think we were pretty in depth with each and every single one of these players that we gave our 11 through 22 tonight. I
definitely agree with you. I think that one of the big things when you're getting these rankings is understanding the context behind them and some of the situations. So this way you can make the right picks for your team. Like I harp on and like we'll continue to say, you don't win drafts just by drafting the best ranked players. It's by having a strategy to build your team out to maximize your points. And we're definitely going to get very in depth with that as well for you as we get closer to this football season. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, giving us your likes, your shares, your support, your views. We're overwhelmed by the support that we're getting for everyone. If you guys could just, you know, continue to give us, you know, follows and just thank you for everything. That's all I really want to say for it. You know, I've been very, very impressed and and humbled at some of the guys that have been on with us that have been putting in the work, like Hammer, like Ricky, like Dave. And I think that we can give you guys, the information that you need this year to win your leagues. And that's why we're here. So thank you very much for your time. I want to end it on a famous Hammer quote here. Don't forget to wash your hands and wash your asses. So until next time, peace out.